Alex stands surrounded by monstrous beasts and hardened warriors, his long hair framing a cold expression as he faces the danger before him now. The scene shifts to Tokyo, where Alex walks through a crowded street in a skull shirt, leather jacket, and heavy boots, despite the summer heat. A businessman accidentally drops a can near Alex, who bends down and returns it without hesitation, drawing the attention of two curious officers walking nearby. The officer asks Alex what he does for a living, and Alex explains he works as a metal music artist. Despite being in a rush, the officer asks for his name and reason for being there, and Yamada leaves the station 15 minutes later than planned, visibly frustrated by the delay. Outside a sold-out club, another officer stops Yamada again, asking if he has a minute, and Yamada reacts with visible frustration at the repeated delay. Arriving late backstage, Yamada apologizes to his bandmates, who scold him for constantly getting stopped by police because of his intense metal appearance and attitude. The band members reveal they are quitting heavy metal for good, leaving Yamada stunned before he throws up devil horns, declaring his love for metal. His former bandmate asks how long he plans to keep this up, insisting he cannot continue this way forever, but Yamada refuses to accept the change. As his bandmate walks away, he tells Yamada to abandon his dream of world peace through metal, but Yamada vows to keep chasing it alone. On stage under the Level 99 banner, Yamada screams into the microphone, pouring every emotion into lyrics as he calls metal the requiem of the dead. Yamada apologizes to the crowd for the band's sudden breakup, revealing he will continue completely alone from that day, while a flashback recalls his timid childhood. Young Yamada stands silent as an adult shouts nearby, since his parents never got along, and the atmosphere at home stayed far from pleasant for years. Classmates gossip that Yamada made girls cry and call him creepy, even though he remains a gentle child whose scary face causes constant misunderstanding among peers. An old radio glows in the dark, marking the moment young Yamada first hears the screaming soul of metal music, changing something deep inside him forever. For the first time, the boy finds a real dream, believing metal music lets him be himself and unite the whole world through one massive festival. Back in the present, Yamada recalls the words of Vagi-sensei, a nod to guitarist Steve Vai, vowing to achieve world peace through metal, even while alone. Mid-performance, lightning surges through his amplifier as Yamada screams that his belief will beat with his heart. Moments before he collapses from severe electrocution, Yamada wakes in an unfamiliar forest, finding a mage in a witch hat leaning over him, while an eye-patch werewolf comments on his strange, unfamiliar clothing. Startled by the werewolf, Yamada shouts Ozzy, comparing him to Ozzy Osbourne's famous Bark at the Moon cover, while the confused wolf just repeats the name. Confusion spreads across Tiru's face as he asks whether Yamada lost his memories, wondering if this strange scene counts as reality or fantasy. "Can you use your appraisal skill on him?" Tiru asks Lizzie, while Yamada quietly corrects his own name, calling himself Alex instead of Yamada. A faint glow surrounds the skull ring on his hand as Lizzie's spell activates, though nothing useful seems to appear from the casting. None of them recognize the term metal musician, and this realization leaves Alex utterly stunned, since his entire identity apparently means nothing here. Throwing his hands into the air with unshaken pride, Alex declares that metal artists are simply people devoted completely to metal music itself. Despite his passionate explanation, Tiru still refuses to trust him fully, and disbelief washes over Alex at their total ignorance of metal music. Worry settles over the group as they debate what comes next, since Alex clearly seems to have arrived from some completely different world. Lee mentions they are traveling to fight an evil dragon, and could use more help, quickly apologizing after noticing Alex standing within earshot. Excitement flashes across his face the moment he hears about the dragon, something Alex considers the ultimate dream shared by every true metalhead. Dragons often decorate famous metal album covers, Alex explains, calling their presence admirable before declaring without hesitation that they should get going now. Something in the distance catches his eye during their journey, prompting David to nervously suggest that Alex might make useful bait later. A snake startles Lizzie mid-walk, though she quickly brushes it off laughing, right as Alex turns to ask what seems to be wrong. Suddenly, Orthros the two-headed beast bursts through the trees, and Lizzie shouts its name in horror, while the entire group freezes in shock. Fire building inside its throat forces Lizzie to cast a barrier spell immediately, while everyone else scrambles frantically to put distance between themselves and the beast. Calling her the weak one of the group, David casually suggests using Lizzie as bait, prioritizing his own escape over anyone else's safety. "Hurry up too," David tells Alex dismissively, just as the beast lunges violently toward Lizzie, who barely manages to avoid its snapping jaws. Desperation fills her voice as Lizzie screams for help, and something instinctive takes over Alex, driving him to grab his guitar without thinking. Without any amplifier nearby, lightning erupts violently from his guitar strings, striking the beast down instantly, while the entire party watches in stunned silence. Utter disbelief grips the group upon realizing Orthros fell in a single hit, prompting an urgent demand to recheck his stats immediately, revealing level 999. Chapter 2 opens with Lee praising his level JoJoJo stats as absolutely fantastic, while Lizzie suddenly turns and demands to know why he left her behind. Shrugging off her concern entirely, Lee argues that sacrificing one weaker member for the sake of the rest only makes practical sense in the end. Fury flashes briefly across his face at the careless remark, though David quickly insists the entire mess started because Alex provoked the beast himself first. Turning away from the ongoing argument, Alex admits he genuinely hates using the weakest member as bait, even though it remains common practice among mercenaries here. Grinning without much visible remorse, Lee suggests they gather their things together and continue moving forward, while Lizzie quietly forgives the group for their earlier behavior. Curiosity crosses his mind unexpectedly, and Alex asks whether mages are born already knowing magic, prompting Lizzie to thank him warmly for even asking that question. Years of dedicated study and rigorous practice must come before anyone properly wields magic, Lizzie explains, comparing that discipline to something Alex clearly already understands well. Admiration briefly softens his expression at her explanation, but Lizzie quickly deflects the compliment, calling herself a hopeless loser who barely manages any spell correctly. An awkward silence follows her blunt confession, and Alex mutters quietly that such deep self-doubt clearly isn't good, watching her fidget nervously with the staff. Worry and quiet confusion settle over him, as Alex admits he feels a bit lost himself lately, prompting Lizzie to gently ask if he shares her doubts. Steady conviction fills his voice as Alex firmly declares that he only knows how to follow the whispering souls found within his beloved metal music. Genuine wonder fills her expression the moment she imagines wielding such powerful magic so effortlessly, though Alex insists that his own abilities are not nearly that impressive. A trace of bitterness edges into his tone as Alex reflects that discovering metal music somehow led him directly into this bizarre and unexpected situation entirely. Nearby, Tiru cheerfully announces their group has almost arrived, while Alex quietly questions whether magic itself might simply be Lizzie's own personal version of metal. Excitement erupts instantly through the entire party the moment a dragon appears, with Lee marveling loudly that this rare creature actually possesses 3 separate heads. Closer inspection quickly reveals it is merely a child, prompting Alex to comment on its surprisingly small size, before deciding the creature seems completely harmless overall. Greed flashes sharply in Lee's eyes as he calculates the dragon's potential worth, insisting they must kill it quickly before its parents ever have a chance to appear. Suspicion creeps steadily into Tiru's expression as he realizes these so-called hunters aren't actually after dragons at all, but rather acting as common poachers instead. Confronted directly about his true intentions, Lee casually admits he knew the truth all along, dismissing the accusation since he is simply a mercenary completing his assigned job. Sudden chaos breaks out as the baby dragon bites back hard in retaliation, prompting Lee to remark sarcastically that Alex's original world must have been truly different. Quiet resolve settles over Lizzie as she admits her world was not that different at all, yet something still compels her forward. David demands to know what Alex thinks he is doing, and Alex answers firmly that he would never lie to his own heart, calling it Metal's spirit. Terror grips the group when the dragon's massive mother suddenly appears overhead, roaring furiously while David screams desperately for someone to help him immediately. Confusion crosses Lizzie's face as she asks why he would even bother, and Alex simply replies that saving them never required any particular reason at all. Recognizing his stance, Alex channels his guitar into a devastating attack he calls Trilogy, named after legendary guitarist Yngwie Malmsteen's iconic album, enraging the dragon further. Determination burns in his eyes as Alex insists his dream is far from finished, unleashing a special skill called Death Voice against the enraged dragon. Bewildered whispers ripple through the party at his otherworldly, booming voice, while Lizzie quietly wonders if some strange presence exists inside her own mind now. Surprise washes over Lizzie when Alex suddenly turns his attention toward her, telling her that certain people around them have always treated her poorly. Tears well up as Lizzie confesses she lets everyone control her completely, since no group has ever truly accepted her or valued her feelings before. Pain flickers across her face as Lizzie admits part of her still listens to that inner voice, insisting outward appearances never really matter at all. Seizing the opportunity, David and the other soldiers move to attack the stunned dragon, while Lee wonders aloud whether that strange power was truly magic. Fierce determination floods Lizzie as she refuses to move aside, casting her first real spell to defend both herself and the young dragon nearby. Confidence surges through her voice as Lizzie tells the soldiers to look at themselves, unleashing a genuine fireball that finally proves her own inner strength. Pride shows on Alex's face as he tells her she did remarkably well, while Tiru casually mentions handing the poachers over to the local knights. Curiosity flickers as Tiru asks whether Death Voice lets Alex empathize with dragons somehow, then jokingly asks if he actually managed to tame the creature. Reflection washes over Lizzie as she recalls hearing his voice clearly during battle, realizing afterward that she had somehow leveled up without noticing it happen. Back in town, a young thief snatches Alex's guitar and dashes off, leaving him shouting furiously after the boy while everyone else watches in amusement. Alexei screamed for his precious guitar and lunged forward without hesitation, desperate to stop whoever had stolen it, as chaos broke out through the quiet square. Tyro looked confused when Lizzie explained the stolen item was called a guitar, and he assumed its strange shape must have caught the bandits' attention. Confusion crossed Tyro's face at the guitar's aggressive curves, while Alexei burst into passionate praise and proudly named it a legendary Gibson Flying V. Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Judas Priest, Kiss, and Scorpions all poured from Alexei's mouth, each band credited with reshaping rock music through unforgettable twin guitar riffs and solos. Names such as Hendrix, Schenker, Rhodes, and Hansen followed next, with Lizzie admiring the thunderous sound while Tyro simply nodded along and pretended to understand. Determined to reclaim what belonged to him, Alexei sprinted off toward an uncertain destination, admitting quietly that he had no clear plan for where to start. An old man revealed that a troubled orphan named Tuck, whose parents had been killed by monsters, was probably behind the theft of the guitar. Villagers grew suspicious that Tuck had fallen in with the bandits terrorizing their town, guessing he was likely already hiding somewhere within their mountain hideout nearby. Tuck lifted the stolen guitar above his head and grinned with pride, convinced this strange weapon would finally win him a place among the true bandits. A brutish bandit mocked the guitar as worthless junk and threatened to smash Tuck's skull with it, unless the boy could prove its actual worth. To his own surprise, the bandit admitted the guitar had held up fine, calling it strangely useful, despite its odd, unfamiliar, and battered appearance. Despite the obvious danger, Alexei walked straight into the bandit hideout and calmly asked for his guitar back, insisting the instrument really mattered to him. Laughter spread among the bandits as they warned him that nobody who entered their base alone had ever managed to walk back out alive. Bursting through the entrance, Tyro, Lizzie, and their quiet companion announced they had come to help, instantly recognizing the bandits as wanted men worth good bounty. Even though Lizzie insisted her help would be minor, she jumped straight into the fight while Tyro's powerful strike proved how much stronger he had grown. Turning toward Tuck, Alexei asked directly whether being bullied by bandits was really the kind of life the boy had ever wanted. For himself sharp and defensive, Tuck shot back that he had survived on his own this whole time, insisting his choices were none of Alexei's business. Grudging complaints spread among the bandits over the sudden chaos, several admitting these unexpected intruders were proving far tougher than anyone had first expected. Barking orders at his men, the Bandit King, level 32, dismissed the fight as a waste of time on mere bugs, unaware of real danger ahead. Comparing the coming clash to Eamon Amarth's Berserker and Searcher Rising, Alexei let out a scream, ready to unleash his melodic death metal fury upon them. The bandit chief snapped that they were wasting time on mere bugs, unaware that the stranger before them possessed strength far beyond his understanding. Lightning surged around Alexei as he unleashed his thunder magic, calling himself the god of thunder while his guitar crackled with raw destructive power. Once the dust settled, Tuck sat defeated on the ground and asked bitterly whether Alexei had also come to arrest him, alongside the others. Instead of anger, Alexei calmly returned the guitar, and Tuck stared in disbelief, unable to understand why he was simply being let go. Tuck lashed out, accusing Alexei of pitying him, insisting everyone always look down on him once they learned he was an orphan child. Tyro gently mentioned that monsters had killed Tuck's parents, having heard the tragic story from townsfolk who still remembered what happened to his family. Alexei stated plainly that he felt no pity, explaining that surviving was simply the only real choice Tuck had ever been given. Turning the question back on him, Alexei asked what Tuck truly wanted, pushing past the boy's claim that wanting anything hardly mattered anymore. Silence lingered between them until Alexei pointed out that survival was merely Tuck's own belief, not necessarily the only truth available to him. Reluctantly, Tuck admitted he should probably apologize to the townspeople, though he clearly hated the idea of admitting fault after everything that happened. Walking through town afterward, Tuck considered simply faking an apology, hoping a fake performance would satisfy everyone without truly changing anything about himself. Townsfolk gathered together, thanking the group for saving their entire home, amazed that only 3 people had managed to defeat the bandits completely. Standing before the same shopkeepers who once scolded him, Tuck finally said sorry, shocking both of them with his unexpected and sincere apology. The shopkeepers teased him afterward, admitting they never expected such a troublemaker to be capable of offering a genuine apology like that. Feeling responsible, Tuck insisted the whole incident had been his fault, while Alexi's group praised him quietly for finally taking a step forward. Later, Alexei explained that a demon king had suddenly appeared, an event directly responsible for bandits gaining strength and expanding their influence everywhere. According to the old man, monsters had grown increasingly ferocious because of the demon king's rise, making the entire region's security noticeably worse. Alexei revealed that countless children had been orphaned over recent years, with rumors suggesting many were being held somewhere inside the demon king's castle. Convinced music could bridge every divide, Alexei declared that pouring his heart into song would let even the Demon King understand his true feelings. Grinning with sudden ambition, Alexei shouted his plan to hold a massive concert, promising to personally reserve one special ticket for the Demon King himself, mentioning he had nowhere left to go and no one waiting for him. Tuck admitted he lacked even a place to stay. Alexei grinned and demanded Tuck bring him along too, while Tyro mocked the boy's tattered clothes as being absolutely terrible looking. Alexei simply agreed, telling Tuck that joining them was fine if that was truly what he wanted for his future. Alexei declared that once the Demon King finally heard real metal music, he would surely learn to voice his own heart and unite everyone together as one. Tyro asked bluntly whether Alexei truly meant achieving world peace through metal music alone, questioning if finding a way back home might actually serve his goals better. Alexei admitted quietly that being in this new world finally let him do exactly what he had always wanted, prompting Tuck to tell him bluntly to get real. Staring off into the distance, Alexei mentioned he planned to find a way back home eventually, once his business in this strange new world was finished. Tyro asked if Alexei was really fine calling him Taro, correcting his name to Tyro, then casually offered to be hired despite worrying aloud about the money involved. Tyro admitted he wasn't sure why, but seeing something in Alexei's eyes reminded him of somewhere adventurers might gather missions, teammates and valuable circulating information all together. A cheerful receptionist welcomed them warmly to the Adventure Guild, asking politely whether they needed any information regarding the mysterious location of the Demon King's castle. After listing several low-level adventurers, like a level 11 thief and level 12 mage, she apologized, explaining she couldn't share that dangerous information based on their current levels. Tyro proudly announced that Alexei was actually level 999, while Alexei introduced himself simply as a metal musician who had never registered before. Nearby adventurers burst into laughter, insisting no one had ever reached level 999, while Lizzie quietly wondered if the frail-looking man's claim held some truth. The receptionist explained that castle information would only be considered if they managed to complete missions, with significantly higher difficulty within the surrounding dangerous areas first. Lizzie panicked upon learning about undead creatures compared to zombies, while Tyro casually read ancient text about a salamander near the volcano and a kraken by the eastern sea. Struck by sudden inspiration, Alexei screamed about Eddie, the iconic mascot representing the legendary metal band Iron Maiden, recognized worldwide among true metal music fans everywhere. Tuck proudly claimed thieves possessed a special ability to detect undead creatures, prompting the receptionist to reveal a dungeon full of traps, mandatorily requiring a thief's presence. Despite the receptionist strongly advising against attempting it, given their current levels, Tuck insisted they should still reconsider taking on the dangerous dungeon mission together. Wind howled across the endless desert as Alexei silently vowed he would see Eddie even if doing so turned out to be the last thing he accomplished. Tuck questioned how Alexei wasn't bursting into flames wearing such heavy clothing, recalling a time he nearly fainted from heatstroke, wearing similar gear during summer, complaining about endless sand stretching everywhere they walked. Tyro suddenly noticed ruins nearby, suggesting they were finally getting close to the mysterious desert pyramid. A massive poisonous serpent called Basilisk, level 36, burst from the sand, ready to unleash its deadly poison, while Lizzie screamed out Alexei's name in panic. Revealing his skill against abnormal statuses, Alexei remained completely unaffected by the poison, his mind instead recalling Stradivarius's debut album, Fright Night. Amid the sudden desert battle, Tyro panicked, screaming that they were surely going to die here, urging everyone to kill the massive creature already, before it could strike again. Watching the lightning fade, the group wondered how Alexei remained completely unaffected by poison, realizing this same basilisk was responsible for turning the whole region into desert. Standing before the pyramid, Alexei recognized the structure as clearly composed of imagery from Power Slave, a super famous album by the legendary band Iron Maiden. Warning Tuck about a floor trap ahead, Alexei casually blocked danger with his guitar, prompting Tuck to grumble about how surprisingly dangerous the man truly was. After discovering a hidden secret room, Alexei laughed proudly, insisting the group was extremely lucky to have someone as capable and useful as himself around. Wandering deeper inside, Lizzie suddenly screamed that mummies had arrived as countless groaning undead creatures shuffled forward, dripping poison from their ancient bandaged bodies. Overwhelmed by their numbers, Tyro shouted for everyone to flee immediately, while Alexei frantically searched for Eddie amid the chaos of fleeing from countless mummies. Once they finally escaped the horde, Alexei suddenly realized Lizzie was missing, prompting confusion among the group about exactly where she had disappeared during their escape. Determined to find her, Tyro suggested searching nearby, though Alexei warned everyone sternly not to touch anything, fearing hidden traps might trigger unexpected disaster instantly. Apologizing briefly, Alexei accidentally set off a trap himself, sending a massive boulder rolling toward the group as everyone panicked over their sudden dead end. Encouraging himself internally, Alexei insisted he was doing just fine, determined to keep moving forward no matter how dangerous their current situation had become. Channeling strength from his guitar teacher, Vi-sensei, Alexei unleashed a devastating strike using his indestructible all-metal guitar, one that even legendary guitarist Yinghui couldn't destroy. Astonished by the destruction, Tuck gasped that Alexei had split the boulder clean in half, though he immediately complained about the floor breaking apart too. Meanwhile, Lizzie found herself standing before an unfamiliar throne room, startled as a striking mummy queen addressed her curiously, calling her a little mage. The mummy queen asked Lizzie's name, growing instantly infatuated once she introduced herself, gushing repeatedly about how utterly cute and endearing Lizzie truly was. When Lizzie hesitated awkwardly at being told she'd stay forever, the queen simply insisted she should feel grateful for such generous, permanent hospitality. Just as danger struck through falling debris, the mummy queen declared Lizzie her chosen companion, right as Alexei and the others finally arrived to rescue her. Grinning wickedly, the queen revealed her plan to transform Lizzie into a mummy herself, ensuring she would remain adorable and preserved this way forever. Horrified by the threat, Lizzie gasped in disbelief, while the queen cheerfully announced that the rest of the group would become her mummy's feast instead. Inside the ancient pyramid throne room, rows of mummified guards close in on the party, and while Tyro and Lizzie panic, David urges Alex to unleash his boom skill. Gripping his guitar, Alex declares that he alone will handle the situation, unleashing a devastating wave of offensive sound that stuns the mummies and stops Tyro's fear cold in its tracks. The crushing riff sends the entire mummy horde spiraling into a wild circle pit, jostling and stumbling into one another in chaos, leaving Queen Amit stunned by the ridiculous noise filling her sacred tomb. Furious and confused, Queen Amit demands to know what Alex just did, suspecting he may have cast the ancient death spell meant to ward off monsters. Alex realizes the queen has never once heard of metal music before in her long life, then proudly throws up his hand in a rock sign and shouts the words back at her. Staying calm despite the tension, Tyro asks the queen to return Lizzie at once, explaining they only came seeking to complete a mission tied to someone named Eddie, hidden within the pyramid. Queen Amit refuses to forgive any intruders who dared lay their hands upon the sacred royal tomb, despite David's desperate protest that they never actually touched anything inside it. Sweating, David admits he found something valuable, hidden inside a secret room, and may have taken it, causing everyone in the group, including Tyro, to turn on him in complete shock. Declaring herself Queen Amit, the most exalted ruler of the entire pyramid, she suddenly transforms into a massive dark reptilian beast, promising to send every single one of them straight to hell. Lizzie freezes completely in terror, sensing the overwhelming difference in raw power between them, while even the fearless Tyro visibly shakes in fright as Amit, his crushing presence bears down upon the group. Unable to use her own magical ability under such pressure, Lizzie watches helplessly as Amit's brutal attack sends her flying backward, prompting a horrified Tyro to cry out Alex's name in sheer desperation. Alex rises up completely unharmed after absorbing the full assault, calmly brushing dust off himself, while Amit stares down in disbelief that he managed to escape without a single visible scratch on his body. Enraged, Amit unleashes her forbidden Angel of Death skill, cursing Alex to slowly rot away into decay and become her obedient mummy servant within just 5 agonizingly short minutes. Growing increasingly confused as to why nothing seems to be happening, Amit watches Alex remain completely unaffected minute after minute, unaware that his hidden abnormal status's immunity skill blocks her curse entirely. Grinning widely, David cheerfully tells Lizzie not to worry at all, and urges Alex to beat Amit thoroughly, while she furiously vows to capture Lizzie again and finish the rest of them off. A sudden overwhelming surge of electric power erupts around Alex, earning him the fearsome title, God of Thunder, as Amit senses that such raw strength could not possibly come from an ordinary man. Standing tall amid crackling energy, Alex proclaims himself a metal musician, while Amit demands to know who he truly is, just as Tyro and Lizzie cheerfully announce that their mission is complete. Assuming their true intentions, Amit guesses the group must be planning to defeat the Demon King, believing they came seeking useful information about the layout of his distant, heavily guarded castle. Alex firmly corrects her, insisting they have absolutely no interest in defeating the Demon King at all, since his real and true goal is bringing metal music into this entire world. Confused by the strange idea of a concert, Amit listens as Alex explains his dream of gathering countless musicians and bands to perform together at the Demon King's own castle. Standing with arms raised high, Alex declares he will bring world peace through metal music, uniting everyone as one and helping the Demon King scream out his soul. Tyro feels strangely excited despite their dangerous situation, wondering when he last felt this alive, while noting to himself that this dude keeps saying such insane things again. Lizzie admits she finds warmth and comfort in their group, appreciating how they always save her and never look down on her for having such a low level. Startled by Alex getting angry entirely on her behalf, Lizzie blushes, while the mummified queen calls her a weirdo, insisting Alex reminds her strongly of another familiar troublemaker. Watching the two banter, Lizzie quietly wonders if traveling alongside such powerful companions means there might be something meaningful she herself could still contribute to the group. Suddenly summoned before a horned demonic figure, Alex recognizes the name Amit being spoken, realizing both he and the reptilian queen have somehow been called here together. The horned figure calls Amit pushy before revealing that gathering them both here was simply carrying out the Demon King's wish, leaving Alex visibly displeased at the mention. Asked directly whether he is willing to become a subordinate serving the Demon King, Alex flatly refuses the offer, questioning aloud who this so-called Demon King even is. Alex states he will never submit to anyone under any circumstance, while Amit warns him that returning here repeatedly will not change that outcome, prompting a tense reply. Grinning wickedly, Alex declares that violence is now the only option left, noticing Amit still carries the wound from their earlier battle as he prepares to strike again. Amit swings furiously, cursing Alex as he dodges effortlessly, while Tyro watches in astonishment, certain now that Alex is definitely not someone who could ever be considered normal. In the blink of an eye, Alex closes the distance and defeats Amit completely, leaving Tyro and Lizzie stunned as he calmly walks away from the fallen queen. The horned demon mocks Alex for appearing weak and warns the Demon King will surely be disappointed, only to freeze in shock upon recognizing him as someone unexpected. Alex realizes there is someone else summoned by the Demon King besides himself, and the horned stranger stares back, recognizing his outfit, long black hair, and flying V guitar. The horned man asks if Alex was also summoned here, while Alex reacts in disbelief, wondering how this strange creature could possibly know anything about what a guitar even is. The horned man confirms he too was brought here, explaining they share a term for those pulled into this world from somewhere else entirely beyond their own. Suddenly flames erupt violently from the horned man's own guitar, shocking Alex as he watches the terrifying blaze spread outward with tremendous uncontrollable force all around them. The horned man taunts Alex to taste his fire, while Tyro grits his teeth and Lizzie watches in fear, both sensing this terrifyingly powerful flame could truly destroy them. The horned man asks if Alex is a metal musician, then proudly declares himself a rock musician devoted only to rock and roll, refusing to be lumped together with metalheads. Alex questions the strange prejudice being thrown at him, only for the man to accuse metalheads of loving to cut arteries and torture people while drinking their blood in purgatory. The horned man boasts that Alex's loud aggressive metal could never compare, insisting his own colorful, glamorous, and sleazy rock and roll represents the one true form of justice. Lizzie shouts, a warning for Alex to be careful, just as the horned man channels roaring flames through his guitar, promising to make Alex suffer as his rock consumes him. Alex grins confidently and counters with his own crackling lightning attack, clashing directly against the wall of fire in a violent explosion of pure elemental power between them. Tyro and Lizzie stare in shock at the terrifying clash, questioning whether either fighter could truly be human, while wondering just how strong the actual Demon King himself must be. Despite dodging every attack, Alex's health suddenly begins dropping for the first time ever, leading Lizzie to suspect this rival shares the exact same overwhelming power level as him. Lizzie admits they can do nothing useful at their current level, yet quietly clasps her hands together in worry, fearing deeply what might happen should Alex somehow lose this fight. Tyro shouts encouragement for Alex to keep fighting, while Lizzie cries out that she trusts him with her own life, believing fully in his strength and resolve. The horned man boasts that he is the strongest and declares Alex's brief visitation will end here, revealing he too was brought to this world by the king's will. Alex unleashes his Firebird attack at the horned man, who counters immediately by summoning his own devastating God of Thunder technique in a clash of elements. The two attacks collide with explosive force, shaking the surrounding area violently, as both fighters push their signature techniques to the absolute limit against one another without yielding. The horned man's accessory breaks apart mid-battle, revealing it was merely a fake horn all along, while Alex realizes his own fire-resistant skill kept the flames from harming him. The horned man excitedly reveals Fately Cr Fei is literally his idol, prompting Alex to note that Wikipedia actually also classifies Fately Cr Fei as a metal band after all. Flustered, the horned man tells Alex to shut up, insisting it shouldn't matter whether something counts as metal or rock, while Alex smirks at catching him in the same bracket. Alex asks the horned man if he knows Robert Johnson, the legendary guitarist, causing the man to freeze completely in stunned silence at the unexpected question. Tyro, Lizzie, and David all quietly notice him changing the subject, avoiding the argument entirely, silently observing that this dude is clearly just playing the whole thing off. Alex explains that Johnson supposedly sold his soul to the Demon King at a crossroads, yet his guitar playing remained impossible to listen to, truly a complete failure. The horned man admits he also traded with this world's Demon King, revealing through flashback imagery a mysterious guitarist gaining incredible skill through that very same dark exchange. He boasts that he now holds absolute power alongside masterful guitar skills, urging Alex to simply look at his impressively high level as proof of his strength. Alex reacts in disbelief upon learning the man's level is Lyodo, the devil's number, revealing his name as Liro, the Demon King's elite rock musician. Then mentions Alex's own level is Jojo, leaving Liro visibly jealous. Liro storms off, declaring that is enough for now, only for Alex to shout that phrase is death to false metal, quoting the metal band Manhwa while still being mistaken for one himself. A swirling black portal opens before Tyro, who asks whether it truly leads to the Demon King's castle, as Alex quietly realizes someone else came from his same original world. Alex wonders whether the Demon King might actually know how he can return to his old world, recalling that Liro mentioned making a pact with that very same king. Regardless of the situation, Alex steps toward the swirling portal, declaring he still has his own duty to fulfill here, no matter what happens next. Tyro agrees to accompany him, casually calling himself Alex's employer now, though Alex teasingly calls him Taro-san, prompting Tyro to correct him and insist he remember his real name, Tyro. Lizzie suddenly insists she wants to come along too, nervously stammering that she truly wants to travel together with them toward wherever the Demon King's castle might be. David clenches his fists, insisting he will be fine as long as Lizzie is there, declaring he is coming too, while Lizzie tells him not to push himself if he is afraid. Standing together as one united group, they resolve that no matter who the Demon King is or what his castle holds, facing it together alongside Alex will be enough. Deep within the Demon King's castle, Alexi's party moved with caution past the armed guards, and without warning, an orc turned to ask where their ruler had gone. Confusion crossed the skeletal guard's face as he stared hard at Alexi's long dark hair, demanding to know exactly who this strange intruder really was. Alexi told the demon he wasn't royalty or a warrior, just a metal musician, leaving the orc confused while another creature studied his strange clothes with suspicion. Alarm spread through the fortress the moment orcs realized a human had slipped past their guards, yet Alexi only threw up a rock hand sign in response. Before Tyro finished scolding Alexi for wandering off alone, a sudden wave of skeleton soldiers appeared, surrounding the startled group without any chance to react. Watching the skeleton knights close in, Tyro told Alexi to hold back this time, insisting he would handle the growing threat entirely on his own terms. Alexi called out for Lizzie and Tuck to move, and moments later a skeleton knight's blade struck Tyro hard, forcing Lizzie to scream out a warning. A blast of fire magic burst from Lizzie's staff, powerful enough that it required real skill, though she had not even noticed she leveled up. Since the day she met Alexi, Lizzie sensed her powers slowly awakening, her body moving on instinct whenever she thought hard about what she truly wanted. Spotting Alexi standing apart from his allies, an orc commander ordered his men to strike down the seemingly weak musician first, though Alexi muttered a curse. An unexplainable chill swept through the demons, as they sensed hidden power in Alexi, and seconds later his guitar erupted, sending them screaming in terror. Startled by the sudden explosion, one ally flinched back in shock, while another cheered with excitement, insisting Alexei had scared their enemies away with ease. Recognizing the man who had fled earlier during the fight, a cloaked figure stepped forward and declared that Alexei would advance no further into the castle. Raising his blade high above his head, Baphomet compared the moment to Slayer's debut album, Show No Mercy, and Alexei's face shifted with quiet recognition. With a cold laugh, Baphomet declared that anyone who dared to flee the Demon King's castle would meet certain death, mocking his own kind's cowardice openly. Calling Alexei a brave enough warrior, Baphomet lunged forward and struck without hesitation, while more demon soldiers emerged behind him, demanding that he face them all. One was hard enough. Lizzie groaned in frustration, while Tyro stared in disbelief, realizing with dread that Baphomet had somehow multiplied into several identical copies. Despite Alexei's immense strength against a single foe, the demons closed in with overwhelming numbers, leaving even his allies unsure whether he could survive such odds. Rapid lightning tore from Alexei's guitar in a barrage capable of striking multiple enemies at once, leaving Tyro amazed at how blinding fast his movements had become. Amid a summoned Cerberus, a mysterious woman named Lero demanded to know exactly how Alexei had gotten there, though he casually referenced an obscure English metal band instead. Lero admitted she also liked M. Fately, and Tyro reacted with disbelief, while Alex sighed and muttered that more important matters still needed his attention now. Glaring at Alex with obvious irritation, Lero called him the same metal-obsessed idiot she still remembered from before, though he only responded with a quiet, dismissive scoff. Startled by the accusation, Tyro asked how Alex had entered such a well-guarded fortress, and Lero demanded answers about the gate he had somehow opened. With a wicked grin, Lero threatened to burn Alex alive using Cerberus and her own fire, warning him that he alone had brought this fate upon himself. Lizzie and Tyro watched with tension as Alex faced the beast head-on, and Cerberus lunged forward, forcing him to brace himself against the sudden attack. Sparks and shadows exploded across the battlefield as Alex unleashed rapid lightning blasts, using a tapping technique that slammed his fingers hard against the fretboard strings. A massive surge of thunder erupted around Alex, and the demon screamed in agony as his guitar channeled overwhelming power called the God of Thunder. Tyro remarked that claiming metal could rupture people's arteries seemed a bit biased, only for Alex to erupt and insist that was exactly how heavy metal really worked. Alex quoted a famous line about steel riffs shooting out instead of fresh blood, leaving Tyro to admit under his breath that the whole thing sounded oddly appealing. Tyro asked what Alex really wanted deep down, and Alex paused for a moment before explaining that with his power and guitar skill, something greater felt possible. Referencing M. Fately's song Shout at the Devil, Alex explained that its message carried a clear warning against chasing devilish power, purely for selfish personal gain. Tyro told Alex to answer his own question, snapping at him to shut up when asked if he was really content just listening to the Demon King. Confused by Alex's sudden mention of a music concert, Tyro questioned his sanity, while Lero flipped him off and asked what exactly he even wanted from them. A commanding voice cut through the room and interrupted them all, leaving Tyro in shock as he recognized the Demon King's overwhelming presence before anyone could respond. The Demon King stated he had no time to fight Alex now, calling his power a nuisance, and ordered the entire group to leave at once. Panic spread through the party, as Tyro and Lizzie cried out for Alex in desperation, watching in fear as the Demon King's power began pulling him away. Guards stationed outside the palace muttered among themselves that Alex looked far too scrawny to belong among the muscular warriors said to defend this entire kingdom. Onlookers whispered that his unsettling face proved some connection to the Demon King, while Alex instead begged everyone gathered around him to just calm down. A rugged stranger stepped forward and scolded the crowd, insisting that judging a person's worth by mere appearance alone was simply wrong and completely unfair to everyone present. Recognizing him at once, Alex thought to himself that this stranger resembled Carmine Apice, though the man simply introduced himself and asked for his name instead. After mishearing his name as Kamen, the stranger promised to hear Alex's whole story later, though local law required that any intruder be captured and questioned first. Confused soldiers wondered aloud whether Alex truly arrived completely alone, since rumors suggested several other companions had also crossed into this unfamiliar world alongside him. Without warning, the warriors raised their fists in unison and shouted with fierce energy, forming the iconic Manhwa salute, leaving Alex stunned that such a gesture existed here. Inside the throne room, the young king snapped at his advisors, insisting that chaos followed Alex's arrival, and questioning whether he served the Demon King directly. Despite the king demanding immediate execution without any trial, the bearded stranger raised an objection, warning that freeing an intruder in haste could bring grave consequences later. The king lashed out further, blaming ordinary citizens for his father's death, and insisting they understood nothing at all about keeping their fragile kingdom safe. Grief spilled out as the king revealed that his father died protecting everyone, though he still placed all blame on Alex for reopening that painful, unresolved wound. Walking through the quiet palace halls afterward, the stranger apologized for exposing Alex to the king's outburst, admitting their ruler still carried unresolved grief inside. He explained that the former king sacrificed himself while defending the country from monsters, remembered as compassionate and admirable, a ruler the whole kingdom respected without question. The soldiers admitted they had spoiled the young king out of pity, joking that acting pitiful seemed to guarantee someone would always rush in to help him. Before Alex could even respond, a sudden noise interrupted them, and the stranger shouted that unknown creatures were now attacking their entire traveling group without warning. A massive insect identified as a level Arshitsi giant mantis emerged from the grass, and Alex recognized it at once from a classic British heavy metal song. Warned that such monsters sometimes attacked travelers passing through, Alex watched the soldiers battle with fierce skill, and the stranger later praised his surprising hidden strength. Soldiers praised their king with pride, crediting him for inspiring their physical training, while the stranger teased Alex about his much weaker build by comparison. The king pointed at Alex once more, demanding his execution and blaming him fully for summoning the monsters, prompting panicked bystanders to step in and intervene. Then, an enormous giant mantis leader appeared before them, forcing a young soldier to charge forward with courage, weapon raised against the towering insectoid threat. The giant mantis leader knocked Kamen aside with brutal force, and Alex shouted in anger that attacking a creature he could not defeat only proved reckless and foolish. Kamen urged everyone to stand back at once, insisting his king would only make the mantis angrier and put their entire group in far greater danger. The mantis lashed out once more, and Alex swung his guitar with sudden precision, striking the creature hard enough to make it screech in pain. Gripping his guitar instrument tight, Alex unleashed a devastating technique called lightning barrage eruption, sending jagged bolts tearing straight through the charging mantis without any hesitation at all. Noticing his pick matched the one used by guitar legend Yngwie Malmsteen, Alex hurled it forward as a physical attack, striking true against the fleeing creature. Everyone watched in stunned silence as the mantis finally dropped to the ground, its long fight against Alex and the soldiers ending in total defeat. Kamen reminded his king that everyone around him fought hard just to protect him, though the king dismissed their efforts as nothing more than weakness. Frustrated and ashamed, the king admitted he had always blamed his parents and his own face for every misfortune that struck throughout his troubled life. Kamen quickly countered, warning that blaming one's environment simply meant giving away control of his entire life into someone else's uncertain and unreliable hands from then on. Kamen pushed the point further, insisting that pointing fingers came easy, yet true leadership required the king to finally take charge of his own destiny completely. As another mantis lunged forward, Kamen unleashed his signature technique again, channeling raw electricity through his guitar and loudly declaring himself the god of thunder. Soldiers around him cheered with wild excitement, celebrating their hard-won victory and praising Kamen's overwhelming power, while raising their fists high in shared triumph together once more. In a sudden burst of honesty, the king lunged forward and struck Kamen hard, confessing through tears that he had always unfairly blamed him for everything. Moved by his king's raw honesty, Kamen thanked him quietly, admitting that being saved from the mantis meant more than the young ruler truly realized. Mistaking Alexei for a shoebill at first glance, M introduces herself as the masked fortune teller, prompting his surprised question about her wide reputation as a traveler. Wishing to reunite with his teammates, Alexei listens as EM promises his request will be granted, and tells him to walk straight in her chosen direction. Coming from another world entirely, Alexei describes himself as something EM has never encountered before, while she admits he feels different from anyone she has met. Curious about the guitar strapped to his back, EM asks whether it counts as a weapon, though Alexei insists it holds a much deeper bond with his soul. Assured his guitar will respond whenever a crisis strikes, Alexei turns to the instrument, calling it by name as though speaking to an old friend, Alex. Determined never to slip back into his old destructive ways, Alexei swears this day will remain proof of his resolve to become a worthy and just king. Showing off his guitar pick with pride, Alexei credits its craftsmanship to Jim Dunlop, and references Yinghui's signature model, leaving his companion impressed, despite grasping none of it. Offered a stylus pick known for its strength, Alexei accepts the gift with real gratitude, thanking the merchant who calls him her own personal guitar hero. Waking disoriented inside a dense forest days after the Demon King's castle incident, Tiru wanders uncertain until a quiet, unfamiliar settlement appears somewhere ahead in the distance. Relieved for a moment at the thought of resting, Tyru soon realizes with growing dread that the settlement belongs entirely to a village of lizardmen. Nursing his wounds with caution, Tyru tenses at the memory of rumors describing lizardmen as cruel, merciless creatures toward anyone unfamiliar or unwelcome in their territory. Despite lingering unease, the lizardmen welcome Tyru inside their humble home, offering shelter until his condition improves. Apologizing that their village lacks much to offer. Bonding over shared jokes, the lizardmen admit every race carries good, bad, and troublesome individuals alike, distancing themselves from their kind's harsher, undeserved reputation among outsiders. Apologizing for misjudging their hospitality, Tyru later prepares to depart, while the lizardmen acknowledge how far removed they seem from typical monstrous stereotypes others expect. Expressing heartfelt thanks before leaving, Tyru explains his teammates wait for him elsewhere, sharing one final respectful gesture with the lizardmen before continuing on his journey. Without warning, a band of mercenaries storms the village, declaring their plan to eliminate every lizard for profit, brushing aside protests that these creatures pose no threat. Rushing back to defend his newfound friends, Tyru vows to repay their kindness at last, joining Tyru-san's side as chaos erupts against the invading mercenary force. Locked in fierce combat with Valo, a beastman, mercenary ranked level 27, Tyru hears his growing strength dismissed as still far from anything of real significance. Insisting mercenaries must finish every job without hesitation once hired, Valo faces Tyru's pointed question asking whether such merciless slaughter feels right or fair to him. Standing firm, Valo declares their village's tradition demands payment be honored in full, even when the task requires striking down a close friend or family member. Confused by Tyru's word, pointless, Valo demands why he stuck his nose into their business and got hurt for nothing, guessing the mercenaries never actually hired him. Valo admits the old version of himself, still bound by rigid traditions, would never have fought back, though his current self would surely agree with Tyru now. Refusing to abandon who he has become, Tyru vows to protect his friends and fight for that choice, recalling how Alex always asked what he truly wanted. Aware that Valo's level far exceeds his own, Tyru hesitates briefly, only for Valo to mock him, joking that he must have struck his head on a rock. Startled by the sight of lizardmen dressed like a certain dinosaur band, Tyru wonders if this could really be Hevasaurus until a familiar voice cuts through his shock. Alexei steps forward and instantly recognizes Tyru, awkwardly greeted as Taru-san, while Tyru promises answers later, leaving Alexei bewildered by the strange reunion unfolding before him. Struck by the lizardmen's resemblance to Hevasaurus, Alexei resolves to protect them, then turns to Tyru, politely asking whether he might borrow his strength for battle. Identifying Valo as the berserker modeled after the power metal band Beast in Black, Alexei stares in disbelief, unsettled that this legendary mercenary now stands directly before him. Determined to settle their rivalry personally, Valo asks to face Tyru alone, calling him a longtime enemy, then wonders whether Alexei can manage the rest of the group. Confident in their own strength, the lizardmen tell the others to stay back, while Tyru signals Alexei forward, urging him to join the coming clash together. Rushing alongside Tyru into combat, Alexei hears repeated warnings against recklessness, though he presses on regardless, standing alone as hostile mercenaries surround him with drawn weapons. Facing down a crowd demanding to know who he thinks he is, Alexei calmly asks whether their leader stands here entirely alone, unfazed by their aggressive posturing. Unleashing a devastating lightning barrage through his guitar, Alexei stuns the mercenaries completely, leaving the lizardmen amazed and Valo shaken that such a frail man wields real power. Locked once more against Valo, Tyru is warned never to look away from his opponent, absorbing a heavy blow before countering with renewed strength and focus. Insisting their gap in power remains impossible to close, Valo calls him foolish, yet Tyru refuses to yield, pushing forward despite the overwhelming difference between them. Fighting to surpass his rival at any cost, Tyru forces everything into one final strike, leaving Valo to grudgingly recognize him as someone worth truly respecting. Having leveled up from 21 to 22, Tyru celebrates with Alexei, while the lizardmen cheer that the mercenaries fled completely, tails tucked firmly between their legs. Radiant energy crackled around him as the bald fairy revealed himself, declaring that Alex's own devotion to metal music had somehow given him physical form. Recognition dawned across Alex's mind as he silently identified the bearded figure as Rob Halford of Judas Priest, convinced this strange being truly was the metal god. Legends about souls resting within legendary weapons came up in Tyru's words, and the fairy merely shrugged, telling them to simply call him whatever they preferred. Turning toward Alex, the fairy asked if he wished to reunite with his scattered team, while Tiru muttered under his breath that fairies certainly weren't supposed to look like this. Trouble clouded the fairy kingdom, the metal god admitted, though he insisted someone Alex had been searching for still waited there among the chaos. Turning to Tiru, the fairy raised his fingers and asked whether he'd be willing to lend his strength once they finally arrived at their destination. Gratitude spilled from Tiru as he thanked the fairy and the pixie beside him, and laughter rang out when the old fairy called him his comrade. Before the scene rewound to days earlier, revealing Alex collapsed peacefully among drifting flower petals. Chaos erupted the instant tiny fairies swarmed around Alex's face, and he jolted upright, shouting in alarm at the sheer number of creatures surrounding him. Bluntly, one fairy asked whether he was their promised savior, and Alex could only grin nervously, recalling how bandits once sold fairies for surprisingly high prices. Sparkling with excitement, a fairy explained an ancient prophecy foretelling that someone born on Earth would eventually arrive to rescue their entire kingdom from ruin. Desperation colored their explanation, as the fairies described an unfamiliar horde of monsters that had suddenly descended upon their once tranquil homeland without warning. Devastation had followed that attack, leaving their kingdom trapped in chaos, while their beloved queen grew dangerously ill and could no longer leave her bed. Pleading eyes met his as a fairy begged Alex to save their kingdom, insisting no human had ever before dared to set foot upon their land. Confidence surged through Alex as he agreed without hesitation, telling them to leave everything in his hands, quietly admitting that playing hero didn't sound so terrible. Warm hospitality followed his acceptance, as the fairies invited him to remain a guest within their castle, celebrating loudly while Alex smiled at their enthusiasm. Luxury surrounded him inside the towering castle, yet Alex privately plotted an escape route for emergencies, all while relaxing in a bath and boasting of his confidence. Terror shattered that calm when fairies rushed in screaming about an approaching monster, pleading desperately for their savior's help against whatever horror now threatened them. Disbelief spread across Alex's face upon spotting the enormous mechanical bird, a level 41 mechanic unlike anything he had ever encountered, leaving him certain he was doomed. Salvation arrived exactly when needed, as Tiru stepped forward with guitar in hand, prompting the nearby fairy to remark that his strength alone rivaled a 100-man army. Determination hardened Tiru's expression as he gripped weapons forged by the lizard folk, roaring a vengeful battle cry before striking the mechanical bird with tremendous force. Tuck the wolf beastman charges forward without hesitation, his sharp claws cutting through the air as falling debris rains down around him during the chaotic battle. Alexei raises his guitar toward the flying enemies above, hurling razor-sharp picks like blades and warning that even headless bodies might still lash out afterward. Doubt fills the young warrior's mind as he wishes silently for strength, like Alexei's, while Alexei trembles quietly, insisting his companion is truly the lucky one here. The young warrior admits his jealousy over Alexei's overwhelming power, only to be surprised when Alexei confesses that he also envies other people for different reasons entirely. Turning away, Alexei lists his own shortcomings, admitting he can't sense hidden traps or steal like a thief, and that he envies his friend's easy communication skills. Alexei reminds him plainly that neither of them can ever become the other, insisting every person carries strengths that belong to nobody else but themselves. Puzzled by these words, the young warrior wonders quietly what strengths he could possibly possess, realizing he has never once stopped to consider his own worth. Walking alone, he questions whether he truly has anything to show for himself, until sudden cries reveal that cornered fairies are being attacked nearby. Recognizing something only he can do, he throws his body forward and shields the terrified fairies, taking the monster's crushing blow meant entirely for them. Calling on his hidden thief skill to vanish from sight, he gathers the fairies close and urges them to fly away quickly before more danger arrives. Focusing his searching ability on the towering wolf-like enemy, he studies its movements closely and shouts that its true weak point lies hidden along its back. Tuck strikes exactly where instructed, tearing deep into the creature's exposed back, while Alexei calls him Big Bro and thanks him warmly for the timely warning. Alexei adds that lightning attacks weaken the beast even further, gripping his guitar tightly as electric sparks begin crackling violently along its steel strings. Unleashing a thunderous lightning barrage through his instrument, Alexei finally brings the monster crashing down, and the young warrior cheers that they have won together. Alexei praises him with a simple "good job," though the young warrior admits he still isn't sure whether this newfound strength was ever truly his own. Still, he smiles, realizing he might carry genuine strength of his own, just as the fairies excitedly announce that Tuck has leveled up from the battle. The grateful fairy queen sends her thanks through a small messenger, declaring that she wishes to personally meet these kind travelers who came from another world. Alex and his companions arrive at the royal castle, guided inside by a servant, while the young fairy stays close behind them nervously watching everything unfold around them. Alex silently compares the elegant queen to a gothic metal vocalist he admires, while she reveals that a mysterious disease has been spreading through her entire kingdom lately. The queen admits defeating every monster feels impossible now, though a small fairy insists that clearing away the monsters completely would finally let their beloved queen recover fully. The queen quietly asks Alex and his friends for a personal favor, confessing afterward that she simply does not care anymore about her failing kingdom's future. Sitting weakly upon her throne, the queen begs the group to help her loyal fairies escape safely, insisting she can no longer protect her own country. The fairies protest tearfully, refusing to abandon their beloved queen despite her orders, insisting they could never simply run away and leave her behind alone. Alex needs a moment to process everything, while the fairies explain how deeply important their gentle queen has always been to both the kingdom and themselves. Tyro presses forward, demanding to know where these monsters originated and why they specifically keep attacking the fairy kingdom, while Alex grows visibly frustrated by the queen's despair. A dark, menacing presence appears from the shadows, and a fairy explains it has long held a grudge against their queen because of a certain dark elf. Alex commands the fairy to guide them toward the source, though he privately doubts she alone could possibly control an entire horde of monsters using only miasma. Deep within a blighted forest, the dark elf named Cardi encounters Tyro and the fairies, mocking them as mere intruders wandering through the thickening, poisonous miasma. Cardi reveals her plan to capture the fairies and deliver Alex's severed head straight to the Demon King himself, calling this opportunity absolutely perfect for her ambitions. Cardi proudly introduces herself as one of the Demon King's elite warriors, shocking Alex, who realizes she has truly become the Demon King's loyal subordinate. Cardi declares her true purpose is destroying the entire fairy kingdom, boasting she was blessed with the Demon King's power as a massive shin dragon emerges nearby. Alex channels the destructive spirit of Ozzy Osbourne's classic album while attacking through darkness, horrified as the group realizes this creature is the true source of the miasma. The Elder Fairy solemnly explains that this same monstrous creature nearly destroyed their entire kingdom long ago, leaving lasting devastation across their once peaceful homeland. Alex orders young Tuck to remain safely behind with the fairies as the dragon lunges forward violently, forcing everyone to scramble away from its sudden attack. Confused by the creature's return, the group wonders how the fairies managed to defeat it originally, realizing afterward that its old protective seal must have been broken. The dragon roars furiously again, while a fairy laughs nervously, recalling rumors that great saviors had recently arrived to help defend their struggling kingdom. Tyro warns that the thick miasma prevents them from approaching directly, so Alex hurls his guitar pick like a weapon, launching a fierce physical attack instead. Cardi looks stunned as her thrown pick vanishes into the dragon's body, while Alex stares in disbelief that his own lightning bolt got absorbed the same way. Tyro watches with unease, confirming that Alex's lightning got swallowed whole, while the Elder Fairy explains the dragon hides behind a thick wall made of miasma. The Elder Fairy warns that no attack, no matter its strength, can break through the dragon's barrier, as thick miasma surges toward the entire group nearby. Tuck reveals the group learned something new not long ago, while the Elder Fairy warns that without a fix for the miasma wall, every attack stays useless. Using a thief's special search skill, Alex uncovers a hidden truth about their enemy, learning that the Dark Dragon's one true weakness rests within pure light. Realizing this discovery could shift the entire battle, the group decides to bless their weapons with the fairy's light power against the dragon's dark defenses. Tyro admits their blessing alone might not overcome such thick miasma, though everyone agrees they will never know the outcome unless they try it right now. Empowered by the fairy's blessing, Tyro charges forward with full force, striking straight through the dragon's shield as bright light tears its dark defense apart at last. With the barrier shattered at last, Tyro shouts for Alex to seize the opening, sensing this moment as their one true chance for real victory. Channeling everything into one massive strike, Alex unleashes thunder through his guitar, hitting the dragon square on and ending the corrupted creature once and for all. Back at the castle, Alex asks how the queen remains sick even though the miasma is gone, while she simply murmurs that enough has happened already. Tyro suggests that heavy metal itself might cure her lingering illness, so Alex grabs his guitar with full confidence, insisting music can fix almost anything at all. Tyro clutches his aching ears against the overwhelming noise, questioning why the queen still suffers, while Alex insists his music can cure any disease that remains. Everyone reacts to Alex's wild performance, stunned by its intensity, as he declares with pride that every single one of his troubles has vanished for good. Tyro cheers with joy as the queen looks healthier once more, though she admits in a quiet voice that everything they did feels like it meant nothing. Alone in her chambers, the queen admits she no longer feels connected to anything she once treasured, and fears her heart may never come back again. Alex refuses outright to give up on heavy metal, despite her sadness, admitting he does not understand what still feels wrong deep within himself these days. Alex points out that she never lets herself go, and questions whether she stopped caring about her kingdom, or only stopped caring about her own self. The queen breaks down in tears, admitting she feels undeserving of her crown, believing she has become useless toward both her kingdom and her devoted fairies. Comforted by her people's unwavering love, the queen smiles again, and promises to cherish herself more as the group continues walking together through the busy town.